Hello and welcome to the September 5th edition of Thursday Night Thunder podcast with AJ and MMK. This is episode 5 of the series. Although it's a continuing saga from past experiences, all of them have made us better podcasters. I'm your host, Adam Jason Sinclair, and tonight the most hardcore program on the internet will once again bring you the best discussion about the world of modern motorsports, hopefully with Mykkal and Lally Capallo in the Thunderdome as well. I see that she's in the listening column. Hopefully she'll be connected soon. Let's see if this works today, shall we? Now, it's been a few months since our last program. Unfortunately, we've had some issues lately, all related to medical issues, which is fine. That thing happens. Things happen as you get older. But now we're getting a lot better. We're having a lot more fun. We're getting things more organized. We're having a lot more freedom of movement, which we haven't had for a while. And we're having a little bit more time. We're getting used to our current schedule. So we're hoping and praying, of course, hoping that the show goes back to a more regular schedule. Doesn't appear like Mykkall's connected as a speaker again, but that's okay. We'll go ahead and work with it as we can. So we'll go on with there. But as I stated, we're getting a lot better off. We're trying to go into a more regular schedule. We're hoping to actually resume a weekly program. That is our goal for the month of September anyway. Might not happen in October, but will happen in September. This is our first episode of September. So we're going to keep a good weekly thing going. We actually had some guests lined up for this month. That hasn't been confirmed yet, but we are working on it as much as we can. And we'll see how that goes. Our guest for tonight could have been a hockey representative. That sort of fell through. I kind of figured it might. We might have some hockey people in the future, and we'll give that a shot if we can. Interesting. I'm looking at what the thing says. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and send Mykkal a brief message here while we're sitting online. She did send me a picture, so I'm going to see if we can get this figured out. And let me see if I can maybe try the microphone icon. Now, there's all sorts of icons that are involved with the Podbean interaction here. It's not the simplest interaction, but it's not really that complicated. Just sometimes it gets bugs in it, and we're trying to work those bugs out as we get them. That's how it goes, but we'll see how it goes in the future. Again, we've had some issues with connections with guests in the past. We've had issues with Mykkal since we came onto this platform with the new things since I left Speedway Digest. Not entirely from my own accord, but that's just how it goes. But let me go ahead and let you know some of the stuff that's going on while Mykkal is continuing to try to connect. I do see her in the engagement page. I see her in the listeners page. I just don't see her in the speakers page, which is kind of weird. But we'll get that worked out as we go, and we'll see how that works. Anyway, Mykkall's going to try and restart again, so we'll see if that helps, and hopefully she's back in a moment. One of the things that's been going on in the world of modern motorsports that all of you are probably aware of is the fact that it's been quite a bit of developments there in IMSA recently. They've had some announcements. Today they had the announcement about Ford and Multimatic working together for a GT3 program. That's been rumored for a long time. They had the announcement recently about Cadillac. It's going to be working with both Wayland Engineering as well as the Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti. I believe that's going to be Andretti Racing with Wayne Taylor. I don't know how they're working out the name of that, but whatever. That's been announced as well. There's other things that are going on. Possibly some of the other hypercars will come into the series next season. I'm hoping. I'm going to see the Lamborghini next year. I'm hoping we get to see a Ferrari next year. That's been up in the air quite a bit. We actually had a shot to ask Graham Goodwin about that in Daytona. He didn't seem that the Ferraris would be coming to IMSA, but they might. There's always hope. So we'll see how that goes too. Again, I'm not going to be at the Rolex 24 Daytona this year, but I am going this next year. But I'm going to be there for the Rolex 24. We're planning on being there for most of the event, probably the Friday and Saturday. That's my plan as of right now. So we'll see how that goes. We will see how that goes. I am also planning on heading down to Miami for the Nitrocross event. I did just sign up for some media passes for that, and we're hoping that works out. So that'll be really cool. Nitrocross is an amazing thing. It's one of those fast-paced, short heats and that sort of stuff, and it really makes it easy and happy and fun to see. So we'll see if Mykkall's able to reconnect here. She is in the live studio. It says connected with Mykkal. I don't know what any of that means. I just know that I probably can't hear her. And that's unfortunate, but let's see if she can give it a shot anyway. And hopefully we can hear her in a few moments. What we're going to do soon is we're going to go ahead and restart our World of Modern Motorsports podcast, as I stated. We're going to try and have it weekly again. We're going to try and have guests every week. I'm going to start doing a little bit more advertising for it, both on X as well as on Facebook. Might even put out some other ads. I'm trying to get things posted all the time on AJ's Motorsports News and Views. I fell way behind on that, which I apologize for immensely, but it does happen. So what we're going to try and do is stay on top of that, because it's easy to fall behind, especially when you get way too many things lined up in your inbox. And I've had way too many things in my inbox for a long time now. But I am trying to get a lot more stuff published out quicker. I'll try to stay timely with that. That's my goal, is to stay timely as possible, keep you guys informed about the world of modern motorsports, keep you guys interested in what's going on, and give you some insight into the world with some of the drivers and participants in the racing. With that in mind, if you're a race car driver, crew chief, pit member, track owner, maybe you're just a huge fan of the sport, contact us to get your spot on the show. After all, use every 50 minutes of fame, and we'd love to hear from you. Easiest way to do that is to head to Thursday Night Thunder Podcast.podbean.com, or you head to motorsportsnewsandviews.wordpress.com. Both of those are the easiest ways to get in contact with us about the show. You can also head to facebook.com/SD Thursday Night Thunder. All three of those ways are the best ways to get in contact with us. I'd probably say the first one would be the Podbean page. The second one would probably be the Facebook page. The third one would be my blogging page, which again I'd recommend all of you take a look at if you haven't already. motorsportsnewsandviews.wordpress.com. Now I do try and put out all different sorts of news on that. Stuff about Formula One, stuff about NASCAR, stuff about IndyCar, stuff about Trans Am. While we're on the topic of Trans Am had a great event this past weekend at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. It was really, really cool. It looked like there were a lot of people there. It looked like it had a lot of different competitors there in a lot of different classes. And that's why I'd love to head to a Trans Am race once again. We haven't been to one of those in several years. The last one we went to was as a guest of AJ Alonso, who was the PR person for Trans Am at the time. So we haven't been there for several years again, as I stated. We're going to try and head down to at least one Trans Am event in 2025. We're probably going up to this one in Sebring. That's the easiest one to get to. So I also want to take a look at the Sebring garages at some point. The Sebring garages that were once known as Apex Garages, which was our first episode of 2024, and as it happened, our last episode on the Speedway Digest Radio Network, which we no longer get to, unfortunately, because most of those episodes are gone forever from the Podbean interwebs there. Again, there are still podcasts available at blogtalkradio.com/Speedway Digest Radio. I advise all of you to listen to the old podcasts of mine and Mykkall's, as well as the old ones from Tim, and even some of the ones from Steven. Those are great podcasts there, all about the history of racing. NASCAR had a very high thing with Speedway Digest Radio, but I've talked about sports cars and everything else ever since the show first came out. I also talked to authors and that sort of thing, and even had some people from Storage Wars on the past. If you're interested in that, we got a chance to talk to those guys at one point, so it's pretty cool. As I stated, I'm going to try and expand what I've had on this show, with this show especially. Try and move, not only continue with talking to racers and that sort of thing, which I've always enjoyed, but I also want to try to expand into the world of motorsports a little bit differently, into the world of travel and that sort of thing, into maybe some other sports such as hockey, because I do follow hockey. I know some of you are probably big hockey fans as well. My wife and I have been fans of the Panthers. I've been a personal fan of the Florida Panthers since their creation in 1994, 1993, 94. So I think they're doing really, really well. My wife and I had the privilege to be season ticket holders down there for a few years. This year is just out of the question, money-wise, with medical expenses and getting around and all that junk. Makes it a little more difficult. But we will be heading down to a Panthers game on the 22nd. That's a doubleheader with Nashville Predators. So I'm looking forward to that. I will bring a little bit of information about that to my social media. More than likely it'll be posted on the Faborplum's Fantastic Finds, which is Faborplum's Fantastic Finds, FABORPLUMBS Fantastic Finds.wordpress.com. Excuse me. So, they also had the IndyCar race this past weekend. The IndyCar was really, really cool. Pato O'Ward ended up winning one of the two races in Milwaukee. I unfortunately did not watch the second race. I know it's a horrible thing, but I did watch the highlights of the first race. Did not watch the second race at all. So I watched a little bit of the WEC race from Texas, from the Circuit of the Americas. That looked interesting, but looked damn hot. Just really too hot. They've had that issue at Skoda in the past, especially with the World Endurance Championship, the FIA World Endurance Championship, where the heat index was over 140 degrees in the sun, mostly in the cars and that sort of thing. But even being outside, it's just too darn hot. It's been hot here this year, but nothing like that. So, if you were smart enough to, excuse me, if you're lucky enough to make your way down there to the Circuit of the Americas for the World Endurance Championship event, that's awesome. I hope you had a lot of shade. I hope you had a lot to drink, and I hope you enjoyed the action. It looked like it was a good race. There was a bunch of great competitors there, a bunch of awesome machines. I am not happy that they're no longer competing in Sebring. I understand the reasoning for it, but I don't think that the show in the Circuit of the Americas was any better than what they used to have at Sebring. So that is that. I hope they end up returning to the Circuit of the Americas. I don't know if they will, but we'll see if that happens. So we'll move on from there. There's also been a lot of two-wheel racing activity. As we all know, I do follow the two-wheel racing as well, motorcycles and that sort of thing. Posted a little bit about that on my Motorsports News and Views page. You can check that out there. I advise you to do so. So, not a lot of really amazing stuff going on there. They did have Sturgis recently, and I know that was pretty cool. I know they are selling tickets for some of the Sturgis Rally things already for next season. So be sure to check that out if you're interested. I will probably not be heading anytime soon to Sturgis for any of those sort of events. I'd love to go to Daytona for some of the Bike Week events. I'd love to check out the flat track race there at Daytona. I did have an invitation to that, some of those events earlier in this year, and I hope that'll carry over to next year. We'll see how that goes, but at this point, it's a maybe. It's a definite maybe. So be sure to keep following this page, keep following this show, keep following all my social media accounts, and I will inform you if I'm going to be able to head out to the races in Daytona, the flat track events, possibly even the motocross. Although I think the best motocross event that I've ever been to, that I've ever seen, is the one they held in Tampa at the Citrus Bowl. It was amazing, in Orlando rather, in the Citrus Bowl. That was amazing. It was great to get that close to the riders, and to the track. In Daytona, you can't really get that close because of the way it's laid out. You can stand there, but I don't want a standing room seat. I'd rather just sit down and enjoy it. And with the way the seats are in Daytona, you're standing close to the track. You're not really sitting, especially for the motocross event. So that's not the best. It is cool. It's great they have that sort of huge event there. But I'm probably not going to head out to Daytona for any motocross events. I would like to see the flat track event though. That'd be kind of awesome. Plus, they have all the other things there. They have the Wheel of Death and that sort of stuff. The fun sideshow type things that take place around Bike Week, and I think that would be an interesting way to do a show and that sort of stuff. I'd actually like to talk to some of the people who do that. If you're interested in more information about that, I'd advise you to check out some of the videos they have on YouTube, especially some of the ones by View from the Cheap Seats. He's a friend of the show, Kyle and his wife Mary. They've been on this program at least once before. I'd love to have them on again in the future. I probably will, but I'd advise you to check out their videos about Daytona and some of the Bike Week events there. You can also check out their recent video. View from the Cheap Seats went to Daytona for the summer races, for the Coke Zero Sugar 400 and all that. He actually spent the entire day there for Saturday's race. I don't know if I'd have that sort of stamina anymore, especially not this year. But apparently the weather was really good. Apparently I had a lot of stuff to do, and it's a great thing. A lot of giveaways, lots of that sort of stuff. So again, check out View from the Cheap Seats. Look that up on YouTube, and then look up the Daytona Coke Zero Sugar 400. It's great. He did a very good review of it. Probably one of the better coverage that I've seen of that race. So one of the best coverages I've ever seen from Daytona is done by View from the Cheap Seats. So I'd highly recommend that if you want to check that out. I've been to Daytona for the summer races. I went to the ones around 4th of July several times. It was really, really cool. Probably the best race that I've ever been to is the summer race in Daytona, but it's also the worst because I've been there a few times where you sat there in the rain. One time I sat there in the rain all damn day, and I don't know why. I did though, and it happens. But I sat there all day, and it rained, and it just kept raining, and then it rained, and it rained some more. I've also been there late at night when they had the event, and that was kind of cool. But yeah, I understand why they moved it to a little bit different time, because they had several years where in July it just rained too much. In August they've been a little bit better, but it is what it is. So we'll move on from that. As I stated, I'd love to talk to some more NASCAR drivers in the future. I did have a chance to talk to Tyler Reddick. I tried to get him on tonight's show, in fact. It just didn't pan out with his schedule. It was kind of a late notice thing because I stated I had another plan for tonight, and that just didn't work out either. But we are trying to get more people on. We've got a few more interview requests that are out there. People are interested in talking to me. People are interested in coming on the show and sharing their experiences with you guys. So all we have to do is have our schedules match up, have things work out, and it just takes one person to get the ball rolling. If you're that person, I'd love to hear from you. So all I do is reach out to a few more people. I've got every time I'm going to post an article on Motorsports News and Views, I'm going to reach out to the PR people, let them know that the podcast is here, that we're broadcasting, that we're trying to do a good thing for the people. We've been doing a good thing for the people for 10 years, and we're working on making it better all the time. It sometimes doesn't happen, sometimes it does. So we're working on it, and we're thinking about different ways to get you guys involved as well. We could try to have you possibly call in again, do some other different things like that. So we'll see how it works. Our first goal is to try and get Mykkal back connected here. She had some high hopes for tonight. I did too, but it just didn't work out yet. It's possible to get it worked out in the future, I'm hoping. So we'll see if we can figure it out. Again, let me check something really quick here. That's just weird. It's weird. So, why can I not see that? It's just weird. I don't know why. Anyway, it's just weird. I don't know why, but we'll figure it out. Yeah, we will. Anyway, so what I'm hoping again is to get some more support for the show, to get some more things going for it, to try and get it back on a regular playing field, more of a every week or at least every other week. For right now, we're gonna try every week. We're gonna see how that goes. We're gonna try and do it next week. We're gonna have more of a script laid out for next week. That's my plan anyway. I'll probably work on it a little bit Sunday, and then add in some more stuff that goes. Lately, I've been trying to just ad-lib it through it because, as I stated in the last show, we had way too much stuff to cover, and it just it worked. It worked really well. I talked to Flower last time. I'm not gonna make it to full hour today. I can guarantee that. I'll probably make it a few more minutes, in fact. But last time I had a whole lot more to say to you guys. And again, I appreciate all your support in the past, and I appreciate your support moving forward. What we're trying to do is bring you guys an insight into auto racing that you don't necessarily get from the big guys. And we're trying to highlight not only up-and-coming drivers, but established drivers, people you may or may not have had the chance to talk to in the past. Even if you just talk to them in passing at the autograph sessions, this show hopes and plans and tries to give you more insight into who they are, what they do, and why they do what they do. I think we've done a really good job with that. I hope you guys do too, and I hope you continue to support both the Thursday Night Thunder podcast as well as more sports news and views. That's all I have to say about that. With that, be sure to check out past episodes of Thursday Night Thunder as well as the other shows on the Speedway Digest Radio Network at blogtalkradio.com/Speedway Digest Radio. I did have a good time working for Speedway Digest Radio most of the time. It just sort of got messy in the end, and that sort of thing happens every so often. You can also check out the show on Facebook by visiting facebook.com/SD Thursday Night Thunder. You can also listen to previous episodes of this show at Thursday Night Thunder Podcast.podbean.com. I'd also go to Motorsports News and Views.wordpress.com. There will be a link posted to this program up on there, as well as posted to X. That's twitter.com/forwarplums, FABORPLUMBS. Check that out there. You can also follow me on any other social media platforms if you so desire. I can be found on YouTube, although I haven't published much to YouTube for a while. That's also at forwarplums, FABORPLUMBS. And you can find me on Instagram, again, FABORPLUMBS. Instagram is an amazing way of sharing pictures and that sort of thing, although I just haven't done that quite as much this year. I intended to, of course, but things got in the way, as they do. You can find some interesting pictures on their Instagram.com/FABORPLUMBS. In addition, if you're a fan of South Florida and who isn't, be sure to check out the latest news and information about our Slice of Paradise at my travel blog, For Warplum's Fantastic Finds. It can be found on Facebook at For Warplum's Fantastic Finds, on Twitter at twitter.com/FABORPLUMBS, and by heading to forwarplumsfantasticfinds.wordpress.com. You can also find it on Twitter or on X, if you will, at PB Happening. That's where I post all of my travel information. Is the PB Happening X page. So be sure to check that out there. I did recently update that as well. I'm trying to stay more on top of that as well as trying to stay on top of this page. The best thing in Four Homes Fantastic Finds, of course, I believe anyway, is my Halloween stuff, and I've started to do the run up to Halloween with more information about Halloween Horror Nights, and with a little bit about Fright Nights, as well as other events such as that. Okay, um, let's hope that Mykkal is figuring out how her connection is. It looks like she might be, but she hasn't quite got there yet. So it looks like actually she is connected. So let's see. Are you there?
Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Oh, wow.
Whoa! So now that I'm starting to wrap up the show, you're finally connected. So let's keep going for a little
I
while
mean,
longer. Mhm.
just
Uh,
our luck, right?
yeah. What's the? I know you've been doing some racing. Not necessarily you, but your husband has been doing a little bit of racing out there in the Great Northwest. What's the latest news from the Malali Kapalo Racing Stable out there?
It's actually going pretty good. They're actually racing this weekend, but it's my nephew. My husband bought the car, and the car hasn't been on the track since 2006, is what he was told. But they couldn't get the car to run, and my husband got it running, and it's been like a top 3 running car all season, so we've been actually really proud.
So we're ever going to see you back on the track again?
Maybe. I have a car that's sitting back there ready to go. It's been a while, so I don't know. But
Yeah, I know.
soon.
Yeah, I know the season's going to start wrapping up out there shortly because it's still the dead of summer, but out there it gets cold rather quickly and things sort of wrap up quickly. So
Yep, I think the track that they're racing at this weekend, this is the second to last race for this racetrack. And then the other track that's like an hour and a half from us, they wrapped up their season last weekend. So unfortunately, things are starting to wrap up.
yeah, it seems like things are wrapping up around here as well. Although I did send you, I think I sent you a link. I might not have sent it out, but the in Palm Beach County here, the Palm Beach County Commission has recently actually decided to try and support the racing community. They have a piece of land on 20 Mile Bend for you, those of you who are local to Palm Beach County know about where that is off Southern Boulevard, about 20 miles from the coast. Um, so that's in an area that is starting to develop, which is not the best thing for racetracks, but it's a lot better than not having one entirely. And they're looking for partners. So I have my fingers crossed that at some point in the future they will do that. As the guys said who are behind that, um, right now anybody who is involved in racing in Palm Beach County and used to head out to Palm Beach International Raceway, both the for the road course as well as the drag guys. And drag guys are what kept that place alive. Those guys have to travel all the way to Bradenton, which is anywhere from 4 to 6 hours away, depending on traffic. That's way too far for a weekend warrior type guy to go for drag racing or for normal road course racing. If you're looking for a dirt track, they have one of those in Okeechobee, but again, that's probably an hour and a half, 2 hours from here anyway, and that's pretty much the middle of nowhere as well. And the middle of nowhere is getting a lot closer to town now, which also is a bad thing for some racetracks as well. But so things are looking up here in South Florida for racing, but it just takes a little bit of effort, and the question is whether the people will support it, whether the fans will support it. That's the big question, and whether it'll take off, or they'll just be like the last time they rumored that they were going to start a racetrack and it just sort of fizzled out.
Is it going to be the same people behind PBIR? Excuse me,
No,
starting up
no,
this track.
they they have options as to doing that, but the last group that was in charge of the Palm Beach International Raceway was affiliated with the International Hot Rod Association. And since the IHRA sold a few years ago, we actually covered that briefly on here when the IHRA just sort of died. Um, when the IHRA sold the company the last time, they pretty much gave up on the track, and I think they lost a lot of their people. I know they lost a lot of their people, all different things. Some people went to golf, some people went to other different sports. I don't think any of the IHRA guys are actually still involved in auto racing, so it'll be interesting to see how they're trying, who they're going to get to be the corporate partner for the to develop the track. I know there's people who are interested in it. There are a lot of private tracks sprouting up in different areas of the state of Florida, and I'm sure one of those will try and put in a bid. Um, those racing country club things are great ideas, and with the money that floats around down here, it might be the answer. Um, so we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, something happens. I have faith, although limited faith, that they will try and get something organized that way. So that would be cool. Did you get a chance to watch any of the NASCAR racing or any other racing this past weekend?
I watched a couple laps of the NASCAR race, but that was all. Oh, and I watched, I think, like a round of NHRA, but no, I didn't really watch too much. But I heard the NASCAR race was good. Whether it was as good as last weekend's race, I think it was last weekend, but I can't tell you that. But I heard it was good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I unfortunately did not watch hardly any of the race from the NASCAR side. I did watch a little bit from the U.S. Nationals in Indianapolis, basically because I saw the NHRA send out a link where they were actually having uh, YouTube was covering the Friday action online, and I saw a little bit of that, which kind of neat with the sportsman action. Um, I didn't see any of the racing on the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. I know that the that Fox had coverage on Sunday and Monday, but their coverage was just. I don't like the timing they do for the HRA anymore. I think that they need to work on that. Um, they need to improve their broadcast a little bit. They need to improve the way they're promoting it a little bit, and but that's neither here nor there. I think that the interesting thing for the future of auto racing coverage will be the streaming that they're going to do next year for some of the NASCAR races, and how some of the NASCAR races will only be available on online platforms. Um, for me, anyway, that'll be a good thing to watch on like Peacock and even on other things. Amazon Prime is going to have some NASCAR events next summer, which would be really neat to see. Because I don't know if we're going to keep Peacock. Peacock keeps going up. The price is just insane. And it started out really low, and now it's up to almost $10 a month for that. And although we're watching more stuff on Peacock and you have more options, at some point you have to start budgeting again. And with the fact that we got rid of our satellite service because it kept going up and up and up, and now all the stuff that we get for streaming services are probably higher in that way than they were when we were just paying for the satellite service. Um, there's got to be a way to do it better, and I think that in some ways the guys are they're begging for money. That's how it ends up being with entertainment anyway. So that's how it goes.
That's weird. Why is NASCAR, do you think, moving to more? Is that just like the way everyone's kind of moving is more towards streaming services as far as like broadcasting?
I think so. Yeah, I think that'll be a yeah. I think that's probably the future is that. And I think that's what they're looking at. Um, I think that the fact that there's fewer and fewer people who are watching the watching satellite. There's only what 10 million people who currently subscribe to DirecTV now.
Oh
10
no.
million households. And at one point, I think they had like nearly 100 million households just for DirecTV worldwide, but still. So now it's less than 10. Um, so I think that NASCAR sees that the future is coming, and they're trying to stay ahead of it. Whether they do or not, that's a good question. But I think they're trying, and that's a good thing too. I know that I did have I have an article in my inbox, which I may or may not post, that NASCAR has they actually rolled out an electric prototype car at one of their recent events. Um, so I think that would be cool if NASCAR ended up doing at least trying to go probably the hybrids first, the same sort of thing as every other series is doing, as IMSA is doing, as IndyCar is doing now. If they did that first, they made a step, and then maybe to an all electric series, it might be better. But I think that that whole thing with the collapse of the internal combustion engine is, some people say it's imminent. I think it is imminent, but I don't think that it's going to be as fast as some people might be hoping, as they were hoping, especially a few years ago. Um, I think that there's some things there. People are going to be slow to adopt it, especially if there's more problems with it. People get tired of recalls. People get tired of race lengths being shortened and that sort of thing. Um, what they've done with the Formula E series, where they're able to stretch the engines further, so they don't have to change cars anymore. They can stretch the reliability of tires further, so they don't have to change tires as often. There's a lot of great things that are coming out of e racing, and I think that as the future gets closer every day, as the future gets closer, the sport changes, and sometimes it's an incremental change, sometimes it's a quick change, and I think it'll be a good change, and I think that they'll not only with the movement away again from terrestrial networks, but also the movement away from internal combustion will be a huge change in motorsports, and I think it's a good thing. Um, Again, I'm not sure the best way of doing it, whether the hybrid package they have with IMSA, where it's more of a traditional hybrid, it's more like the thing I have in my truck, where it's got a small electric motor and then a larger gas motor, and they work hand in hand, or go with IndyCar, where it just sort of the the electric motor provides acceleration off pit road and that sort of thing, and a little bit on the track. Um, I think that the the answer is probably closer to the Prius type thing, or even the Ford hybrids. That's more of the answer for racing. But we'll see how it goes. It's an interesting time we're living in for more sports and all that sort of stuff. So it'll be cool. And I think that the people are changing, things are changing, and it's a great time to keep track of it. And hopefully, we're able to talk to some of those people in the future. I'm working on trying to get people in here again. We did have a chance to talk to some of those people involved in hybrids before. We talked to the people who are working on things for Mars missions and that sort of stuff, which is awesome. I'd love to talk to those sort of people more, and I'm working on it, and hopefully we have that opportunity. What race are you looking forward to in the future? Any big? Did you have a chance to see any of the IndyCar race from Portland?
No, I didn't see any of that. Though I think Portland just hosted, I think there was another race not that long ago, unless I'm wrong, which I could be. But
They
I
had the
don't
Formula E
know.
race there a few weeks ago.
Oh, that might be it then. I seen that there
Mm-hmm.
was something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Formula E
But
race, it looked really really cool. But I think that the not only the IndyCars had an issue with Portland because apparently it was colder, and it was a lot colder than what they anticipated. It was what in the low 50s when they had the IndyCar race.
yeah.
The Formula E cars did better and on the track, but I wonder what the time was, and I didn't see that. That would be interesting to see whether which one was faster, whether IndyCar was faster overall, or whether the Formula E race was faster overall. Um, I have a feeling IndyCar was probably a little bit faster, but I think in the long run, Formula E might be catching up speed wise anyway.
Yeah. What do you think's more interesting, Formula E or IndyCar?
with the fact that things are changing so much, I think Formula E is more interesting right now. Formula E, when I had the chance to see them before, was different, but it was like they're driving in Indy cars that had electric motors. Now with the new cars, they're a lot better looking. They sound better. They look better, um, and they've got better drivers as opposed to former IndyCar guys and former Formula One guys who seemed like they were trying to hang on. At least now they've got professional drivers, more professional drivers, people who are more interested in the series. IndyCar is great. But IndyCar has its own issues. As I talked a little bit to Rick Ware, I believe it was last year, where we had I talked to him a little bit about IndyCar, and in fact, IndyCar is just slow. They're not slow speed wise, but they're slow in their embracement of new technology. They're slow in trying to get to new cars. Their chassis now is almost, I think it's actually 10 years old now. You can't
Oh
have a
wow.
10-year-old chassis in a professional racing series, especially one that says that it's the fastest and everything else. Chassis is 10 years old. The technology's new, yes, but the technology is still older as well. The only thing that's new in the Indy cars is the engine, and they fit it into a box that was designed, as I stated, nearly probably more than a decade ago, and it just sort of squeezes in there. What they need to do, what they've planned on doing, is for a long time, is updating the chassis, updating the engines, updating everything in IndyCar. IndyCar needs to move on. Uh, it's going to cost them money. It's going to cost them time. It's going to cost them development and that sort of thing. But to move into the future, to compete with other series, especially competing with Formula One, which they tried to do, IndyCar needs some big changes. Um, I don't think they're going to make those big changes anytime soon. I think that we're lucky that they got the hybrid package into the cars. I think we're very lucky that they got the canopies there with the new that new technology was helped a lot, especially with some of the big accidents they had in Indianapolis. But and Indianapolis was fabulous this year. The Indy 500 was great. The coverage running up to the race was great. The race itself was great, um, and the fact that there were a lot of people there was good, really good. Um, IndyCar needs to work on that. They need to take their best stuff and move forward with it, and they need to change. They need to get things improved. They're good now. They can be great, um, and it just has to happen. They have to make the investment in money. They have to make the investment in time. And I think that when Penske bought the series, bought it out of and became private again, Penske wants to save money, um, which is interesting. Penske wants to save money because Penske wants to keep his own money. Eventually, you realize you can't take it with him. I think he's the sort of guy who might be buried with a armored car. But anyway, so the IndyCar has a lot of issues, and I think that in some ways Penske's done fabulous things for the sport. He's brought it together. He's tried to improve it. In other ways, I think that when Andretti stated that it might be better to have someone else in charge of IndyCar, uh, and then Mykkal Andretti has enough support worldwide. Um, that might be a way to change it too. But there's all different things that can happen. Uh, Heck, if you look at Rick Ware Racing, which I talked briefly about a few minutes ago, Rick Ware is involved in all sorts of racing all over the world now, and which is great. It's fabulous. It's a great thing, but it just shows that racing isn't. It has so many tiers. There's people who spend a lot of money and try to make it a better thing. There's people who spend a little bit of money and try to have fun, and everybody just needs to find a happy medium. They need to work out the way to make things so they're really competitive, so they're doing well, and so they're advancing the technology. And right now, it seems like some of the sport, especially in this country, the not only with IndyCar but also with NASCAR, and to a smaller extent, uh, IMSA and other series as well. But NHRA, you look at that. But people are being more conservative than they should be. They're not. They're sort of holding what they've got. Um, Look at older chassis, for example, In IndyCar, it's 10 years old, and in some of the NHRA chassis, if you talk to the teams and that sort of thing, some of those chassis are 20 years old. And you can't have a 20-year-old chassis competing in the top level and expecting to win. And yet they do. They don't really win, but they're competing there. So people need to invest money, they need to invest time. And you guys who are listening, hopefully there's a few of you guys out there listening, and hopefully you're enjoying the show. You guys who are listening should go out and support your local racetrack because everything starts locally. And if you look at races like the one in Coda, with the fact that there's an announced attendance of 65,000 over 3 days. That's possible, but if you look at the people in the grandstands, it's not likely. So you look at most of the NASCAR races. There are a lot of NASCAR races that have an awful lot of people there. Then there are races like some of the truck races, some of the Xfinity races, where there might be more people at a home football game in Texas than there is at the at the races, and that happens at local tracks a lot, where there's great action on the track, there's great people there, and there's not as many people in the grandstands as there should be. So people need to support the local tracks, especially now, because the pandemic scared a lot of people away from that sort of thing, and now people are going back, and people went back in droves when the pandemic ended, and now they're starting to fade off again, and they should keep going. They should go. They should realize that the world exists outside of computers. The world exists outside of just hanging out in your house. You need to go out and experience the world. You need to try and get things done. You need to see things that are fun to you, and hopefully this sort of thing is exciting. Motorsports is an amazing way to learn about technology. It's an amazing way to learn about the future, and it's an amazing way to see some of the greatest people you'll ever see going fast and doing amazing things in cars that you'd never think about doing yourself. So that's what I'd advise you to do. Go out, see your local track, support the people, support not only the pros, but people who might be pros in the future, people who are trying their best, people who want to try and just put on a good show. So, of all the NASCAR drivers who are out there right now, which one would you like to have the chance to talk to?
Hmm. I don't know. That's a good question. Obviously, I love Joey. I love him till I die. But I think Kyle Busch would be an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
What about
Oh, how do
you?
you feel? How do you feel about the issues that Kurt Busch had with his DUI conviction the other day?
I didn't read too much about it. I did see something about a DUI.
Mm-hmm.
If he really was driving under the influence, I mean, you can't do that necessarily. But did they say what the substance would have been
I think he's
that he
just
was
been
on?
drinking way too much. Probably vodka and Red Bull, if it's him, that sort of thing. Vodka and Monster Energy, rather, because he's the Monster Energy guy still. But when he was married to his wife, there the 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 model type woman who was in the Olympics, I forget her last name. Her family has a lot of money, and they had a yacht in Palm Beach at the docks there. And when right after he won the Daytona 500, he drove down to Palm Beach, and they had a wild weekend party on the yacht, and he did donuts in the parking lot. And if you ever had a chance to look at it, his car control must be amazing, because the donut he did in the parking lot, it was within the width of one parking spot. It was a perfect circle, right around one spot.
That's
So,
wild.
and I'm sure like I said, I'm sure he's been crazy. He's been crazy for a long time, and he's probably done some really stupid things. And it's good that he didn't hurt anybody, and it's good that that he's trying to be a little bit better now, and I think that the that's a good thing. It's one of the good things that came out of it. Um, Hopefully, he's going to learn his lesson. He's not going to be stupid. Not going to try and do anything like that again in the future. So
Yeah, well, I guess on the bright side, he doesn't have to worry about the repercussions from NASCAR.
yeah, because he left, and hopefully he's feeling better too. I know he had that. There was a really severe head injury that put him out of the series. They don't talk about that as much anymore, but I know that he had a really slow recovery from that. And he's not the only person. People like Joe DeFerrin who ended up retiring early because of the head injury, or other drivers in IndyCar who've had similar injuries in the past. Um, so technology gets better and better. People think that they can do more things with the cars, and in the end, if you end up hitting the wrong way, it's bad for you too. So
True.
yeah, just the way luck goes. Um, so that's how it goes that way. I know. Are you going to be doing anything exciting for Halloween? I talked a little bit earlier that the Halloween season is hyping up a little bit down here with the announcements from Fright Nights and that sort of thing. I know they have that was the Scarywood thing there at the park in Idaho.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I tried to convince my husband that we should go to Florida sometime in October, and he said, Mykkal, and I was like, okay, at least I tried. So I did try, but he wants to go to Scarywood, which is fine, but it really starts to cool off around here like the beginning of October.
Yeah,
Excuse me, the beginning of October. So, but I guess when you're screaming, that tends to kind of warm you up theoretically, but I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of being cold or being scared, really. But I would go to Florida to check it out.
yeah, they have a lot of amazing stuff here in Florida for Halloween Horror Nights. For Halloween Horror Nights being the number one thing there at Universal Orlando. Hello Scream at SeaWorld and Busch Gardens. Um, and they've got the Halloween event at Legoland, which is fun. We've actually done that once. Um, that has the stage show there, which got the people who used to be members of the Blue Man Group. They had on there one time, so that's pretty neat. And then, of course, the local events that I'm going to get to go to this year again a few times because they've got some really good ticket prices going on. So anybody who's interested, I posted that earlier today because they did announce that Friday the 13th of September, which is next Friday, Fright Nights at the South Florida Fairgrounds is going to have a flash sale. So half price tickets, instead of paying the $45, you're paying $22.50 to get in through the gate. Get 35 fright tickets. I don't know if 35 fright tickets we could do on every haunt, but I know we could do most of them. So that'll be cool. I'm going to go ahead and take part in that. I'll be heading out there probably on the 12th of October, at least, and a few other days, but definitely the 12th of October. So heading down there. I'm going to try and get somebody from Fright Nights on this show probably in the next few weeks. I don't know if that's going to happen because they keep changing their policies and all that. I have a lot of friends who work out there, but it just some of their stuff is a little more corporate now, and sometimes they get a little gets a little more difficult to talk to people about that sort of thing. But I'm going to hope and try to get somebody from Fright Nights on the show in the next few weeks. I would love to talk to somebody from Nightmare Village. That's down in Fort Lauderdale at the Extreme Action Park. I don't know if they're going to have a sale or not. I'm hoping because I'm going to be heading down there on the 19th of October to head down there to Extreme for the Nightmare Village. Uh, those will be the two big Halloween adventures for me this year. It's unfortunate I'm not able to travel as much. Not yet. Getting close. Getting darn close. But not able to travel as much as I was in the past. So no big adventures to Orlando for Hallow Scream or for Halloween Horror Nights this year. But those look pretty awesome. And like I said, if you had a chance, I'd highly recommend first Halloween Horror Nights, just because of all the the Hollywood type effects and all that. If you're interested in just being scared, I'd recommend Hollow Scream, but I would recommend the one in Busch Gardens before the one in SeaWorld. Well, SeaWorld was cool last year. I'd recommend the one in Busch Gardens first, because Busch Gardens is supposed to have some really awesome stuff for their Halloween event this year. Um, then, of course, you got their smaller haunts out there, stuff like Sir Henry's Haunted Adventure in Plant City. That's really, really cool. It's an outdoor event. And instead of being out there in the Pacific Northwest where it gets cold in October, here it's still going to be hot. But hopefully it gets a little bit cooler in October. Um, I don't know if it depends on the year. 2 years ago, it was 97 degrees on Halloween when I put my Halloween decorations, my final ones. This year, I'm hoping it's a lot cooler than that. So um, I'm not going to put up a bunch of Halloween stuff this year. It's just too complicated. But I'm going to put up enough so we're not the non-decorated house on the street. So, but we'll see how that goes. I'm looking forward to Halloween. Looking forward to the holiday season. Looking forward to getting out of the house here, going down to Fort Lauderdale for the Nightmare Village, and that'll be pretty darn awesome. So, what's the next big race you're planning on heading out to? I know you said your husband's going to be racing this weekend. You're going to be heading out over there.
Um, I'm not sure. As of right now, I plan on going, but it's supposed to be 96 degrees,
Yeah,
and I just don't know if, I don't necessarily want to sit there for hours in the sun, but I don't think my baby could really handle sitting there that long in 96 degrees. So I'm just not sure yet. But I would like to go. I really would like to go. I'm just not sure because it's really going to be hot.
I think that's part. Like I said, I was talking a little bit earlier about formerly the FIA WEC event in at the Circuit of the Americas. They were talking about the 100+ degree heat index there, and the 140 degrees in the cars and all that, and it just seemed way too hot there. Um, I've been to races here in Florida, um, not as many in Daytona, which is surprising because Daytona's always been, for whatever reason, it's a little bit cooler at night there. But some of the races in Homestead and that sort of thing, even in March when I went to Homestead before, where it's in the 90s, and you just don't want to be outside. You don't want to be anywhere where it's just too hot. So
No. And I bet technically, doesn't it feel, I mean, I should know, I've been to Florida, but I mean, technically, isn't it hotter over there at like 96 than it is over here at
yeah,
96?
yeah, the humidity is higher. The air is different. It's just hot. So, I mean, you can when they talk about the 100-degree temperatures in Las Vegas, it probably feels cooler there at 100 degrees than it does when it's here at 85 degrees in South Florida, just because of the humidity, that sort of thing. So
Fair enough. And the humidity, I know I sound like Mykkal, go back to school, but is it because you guys are surrounded by so much water, or is it from the rain that you guys get?
a little bit of both, a little bit of both. And lately, it's just been raining. That's it rained here a few minutes ago, in fact. But it's just this is a really rainy year for whatever reason. I'm not going to complain because it keeps the hurricanes away when it gets just normal daily rain. So that's a good thing. But lots of rain, lots of humidity. It's just been really, really humid too. So it's a good thing in a way that I'm not able to get outside as much right now because I wouldn't want to be outside with the weather like this. Just taking out the garbage, it's humid, sticky, nasty out there. So it's what
Yeah.
it is. But hopefully it's going to be improving. The weather, hopefully the weather gets cooler next month when all the Halloween things are open. I'm got my fingers crossed at least in the 70s possibly at night. That's what I'm hoping for when I go out to the Halloween events next month, um, especially the one at Fright Nights because that's a lot of outdoor stuff there. The haunts are inside, but there's no air conditioning in those buildings. They have the big ass fans, those really really big fans in there, but they don't have. There's no air conditioning in those buildings, so if it's hot outside, it's still warm in there. And hoping it's not that. Hoping it's in the 70s. Hopefully it's clear and cool and comfy. That's my hope is for those events. The one in Fort Lauderdale is not as big of a deal. The one in Fort Lauderdale is inside, so it's going to be in the 70s and whatever they're in the building. So, but the one in the big one I'm going to at least once, probably twice, maybe even three times, Fright Nights. It's mostly outside. And as I stated, the Fright Nights thing, you're going to be they got the flash sale going on Friday the 13th from through Sunday the 15th. Be sure to check that out at the myfrightnights.com. I'd be. I'm also going to post some information about that on Football Plum's Fantastic Finds, so be sure to check those out there. I'd like to thank you all for listening tonight. I'd like to thank Mykkal for actually being able to connect this evening. Hopefully, she's able to reconnect next week. We're going to try our darndest to get a guest next week, but as I stated, I might have a really good script laid out for next week, no matter what. And we'll try and fill the entire hour again like we did tonight, which is awesome. Thanks again to all of our listeners for supporting the show over the years, and I hope you have a great week.
Thank you for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again next week when we discuss the major issues in the world of modern auto racing.
Have a good night. Thanks again.